Hello dear fans. Population of India and China, official data. The two most populous countries in the world are India and China. Today they are fighting for the leadership of the position, and time will tell who will win. Leading India and China. Today, India and China occupy the leading positions in the world in terms of population. And these numbers are growing every year. China is in the first place. The population is currently 1,394,943,000 people. India today has 1,357,669,000 people. But according to UN experts, these indicators will change in 8 to 10 years. India will come out on top in terms of population, thereby overtaking the Celestial Empire. Resettlement in the Middle Kingdom. According to the United Nations Department of Statistics, China's total area is 9,598,089 square kilometers. A number of geographical features of the country do not allow the Chinese to settle evenly. There are sparsely populated areas, and there are regions where there are more than several thousand people per square kilometer of population. What is the reason for this? In the first place is the geographical location and climatic conditions. The Chinese settle where there is fertile land and water. For this reason, the western and northern parts of the territory are sparsely populated. The Gobi Desert, Taklamakan, and Tibet do not attract the Chinese. These provinces occupy more than 50% of China's territory, and are populated by only 6%. Areas along the two main rivers of China, the Zhejiang and Yangtze, and the North China Plain are considered fertile. The climate here is mild, conducive to the active development of agriculture, there is water, and therefore drought is not threatened. The second reason is the uneven economic development of the PRC regions. The Chinese are trying to settle in large cities. Thus, the port city of Shanghai has more than 24 million inhabitants. More than 21 million Chinese live in the capital of the Celestial Empire, Beijing. This is due to the fact that it is easier for citizens to find work in such large metropolitan areas. Large and densely populated cities in China also include the cities of Harbin, Tianjin, and Guangzhou. China has grown in size over the past century, despite the government's one family, one child program. Moreover, this program has led to the fact that the people of the Celestial Empire are rapidly aging. Also, there was a gender bias. This is due to the fact that in the early stages of pregnancy, Chinese women, having learned about the sex of the child, girl, on an ultrasound scan, performed abortions. Today there are 120 men for every 100 women. According to forecasts, in 2019, the number of the Celestial Empire will increase by 7,230,686 people, and at the end of the year it will be 1,408,526,449 people. The population will be increased by 19,810 persons daily. Population density of India. The rapid growth of the Indian population forced the government to take a number of measures. So India was one of the first to adopt a program on birth control. The program began operating in 1951. Couples were offered monetary rewards for voluntary sterilization. But the program did not lead to the expected results, and it was decided in 1976 to force sterilization if the family had more than 2 children. Today, the average Indian family has an average of 4 children. Early marriage also contributed to the growth of the Indian population. It was decided to increase the age from which it was possible for young people to marry from 18, girls, and 23, boys, years. The gender bias towards the male population occurred for the same reason as in China, due to abortion. The number of men exceeds the number of women several times. The Indian population, like the Chinese population, tends to move to major cities such as Delhi. More than 23 million people live in the capital today, with an area of 1,484 square kilometers. By 2030, this figure may rise. Delhi's population will reach that of the largest city in the world, the Japanese city of Tokyo. The city of Mumbai is not far behind the capital of India. It is home to over 22 million people. In Kolkata, the figure is over 13 million. Madras has welcomed 6 million Indians, and Bombay is home to over 15 million Indian residents. But India's demographic situation is strikingly different from that of China. The reason is the socioeconomic characteristics of the two countries. The Indian government's demographic policy has failed. This was influenced by the monstrous illiteracy of the population, early marriages, and the strict observance of many religious dogmas. Today, China is still in first place in terms of population. But the Celestial Empire is rapidly developing economically, the standard of living of the Chinese is improving. And the growth in numbers is slightly, but decreasing. India today does not control population growth, and it is increasing every year. In 2013, the figure was 1,271,544,257. Already in 2016, this figure increased to 1,336,191,444 people. The population density per square meter in India today is 2.5 times higher than in the PRC, and this difference will only progress. On average, there are about 140 people per Chinese square meter, and more than 360 people per Indian square meter. To be fair, India ranks 18th in terms of population density. And many states have surpassed it in this indicator. But at the same time, the density of India is still very high. The capital Delhi and the Indian city of Mumbai are among the 10 most populous cities in the world. Forecasts. In the coming years, the number of people living in India and China will increase. Their population will be 40% of the population of the entire planet. Which of the two countries will be in first place? Today's data suggests that India is outnumbered by China and only in second place. But in April 2017, Y. Fuxian, a professor at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, conducted research, during which it was found out that India is still in the lead in terms of the number of inhabitants. Errors were made in counting the Chinese inhabitants. As it turned out, there are 90 million fewer inhabitants in the Celestial Empire, but the professor's research has not yet been taken into account. It is officially recognized that China is the leader in terms of the number of inhabitants and occupies the first position in the table. It is only obvious that the population of India is growing steadily. Nevertheless, experts note that there is also a positive trend. Today, population growth has decreased slightly. If this continues, then in general, India's population growth will decrease in the future. And maybe even by the end of the 21st century, the opposite trend will occur, and the frightening predictions that the country's population will exceed the threshold of 2 billion people will not come true. And what about the great and mighty China? Seems experts believe that the Celestial Empire has practically exhausted its demographic resources. By 2050, 32% of Chinese will be over 60 years old. In real terms, this is 459 million pensioners. Since 2017, the number of able-bodied Chinese has begun to decline. And by 2050 it will reach 115 million people. This means that China will no longer be able to rely on cheap labor, due to which the development of the Chinese economy takes place. Cheap labor has played a decisive role in creating China's exports, but in a couple of decades, and the situation will change for the worse. The only hope is that China will have time to get rich before the country's population becomes disabled. Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, and South Korea are aging in the same way. But there is a main difference from them: China is still poor, and it is unlikely that it will be able to get rich. Thanks for watching.